Hello and welcome to the Week in Nintendo. This is GVG's Nintendo podcast, and it's a great time to have one of those because a new Nintendo console is literally coming out in 6 days as of recording this video. Technically sooner if you're going to pick it up at midnight. So today I am joined by Daniel Alba.
Hello, everyone. It's so good to see you. We are less than a week away. Isn't that crazy? I feel like just the other day we were listening to rumors about the Switch 2, and now it's, as you said, knocking on our door. It's almost here. It's scary and exciting at the same time, Brandon.
Yeah, it's so crazy to think like the last time we were in this position was in 2017. We were different people. I was 2017, I was barely out of college by that point. Like I was starting my adult life. So it's insane. It's been so long, it's kind of hard to process in a lot of ways. Because Wii U to Nintendo Switch was such a short turnaround. And I mean, even Wii to Wii U was shorter than what we just experienced. So I've seen a lot of people saying that they weren't tired of the Switch yet and they didn't care. They were perfectly happy with it. I've seen John say that before. But for me, I was done. I was ready to move on.
Yeah, I think enough time has passed that I'm in that mindset of, okay, we've had technology advance quite a bit in the last 8 years. There's a whole much more we can add to this. We can really push to whatever Nintendo's specs are beyond what the Switch has, because we were already kind of running on somewhat older hardware when the Switch released, and now we're at 8 years. This is a unprecedented amount of time for quite a while now.
It's weird too, because when it came to Nintendo Switch, I think the Tegra X1 was 2 years old by the time the Switch came out. But we've come to find out, thanks to various leaks and whatnot, that Nintendo Switch 2's hardware was finalized in 2021. Which is a much bigger gap in time than it was for the Switch 1. So technically Switch 2's hardware is even older than the Switch 1. At time of release, but the jump in power is so monumental that I don't care.
We are slowly approaching the hardware specs that's something that a modern PlayStation can achieve, modern Xbox. We've always been comparing Switch 2 to PS4 Pro. And having that in the palm of your hand, that's unfathomable to me right now. I still think back to PSP being a handheld PS2, and that blew my mind. And now we're kind of just slowly inching forward along as far as to the upper echelon of what this kind of hardware is capable of.
I remember feeling the same way when Kid Icarus Uprising was first revealed, seeing Pit run across the screen, and I was like, that's Brawl Pit running on a handheld? And the lighting in that game was gorgeous. The backgrounds were beautiful. And I was like, this is a console quality experience on a handheld. Obviously, looking back, there is quite a difference between 3DS and console in terms of visuals, but it was such a substantial upgrade. It was hard not to just focus on that. And that's how I feel about Switch 2. But, we're at a point with gaming technology now that I could be eating crow in 5 years' time, who knows, that we've reached the peak, of what visual fidelity can really be. Ray tracing is still something that we're figuring out, and that's a step towards realism in gaming that really takes it the full way across the finish line, And now Nintendo's adopting the ability to have ray trace lighting. We don't know if they're going to do it in any of their games necessarily, but the fact that it's there is pretty insane. And I think a lot of people tend to forget that. How many years into the PS5 are we now? 4?
We're 4 or so years, yeah. 4 or 5 years.
Most of the games that have come out for PS5 also came out on PS4. One of the best looking games I've ever played was The Last of Us 2, which came out on the PS4.
Yeah, we've got it's wild that the it's funny because you look at the jump from like the PS5 to the PS5 Pro, and to the layman, to the people that don't really look really closely and see all the specific details, they can't tell the difference. They can't really see like, oh, it's just looks a little bit prettier.
Yeah,
And it kind of speaks to how far we've come. Like the real upgrades that we're seeing now for are pretty much like performance wise, like 4K 60 FPS, loading times, faster loading times, like almost instantaneous now. That's kind of what we're leaning towards for as far as like what's the next leap in technology that we can do for these consoles, I think.
it's so funny looking back when PlayStation was, planning to be an 8K platform. But I think we've gotten to a point, at least in the like, immediate future, where that is unrealistic and not really necessary. Because when you look at like a 4K panel and the size they have to be in order for, you know, pixels to be um, noticed at, like standard viewing distance, most people aren't going to be able to see pixels from where they're sitting on a 4K display with a native 4K, piece of content. 8K is dumb, and it will be dumb until we have TVs that are the size of your walls in your home. Um,
You got
so
like a hope you got your own theater at home.
yeah, and even 4K projection wasn't like a normal thing uh, until probably the last 4 or 5 years, I'd want to say. I watch a lot of Linus Tech Tips, so like every time there's a big leap in televisions or in projection, Linus is always ripping out his theater and reinstalling some new, better stuff. It's comical how many times he's done it in like the last few years since he's had his new house. Um, but
Yeah,
like even in a theater setting, 4K is still enough.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. When people talk about 8K, I'm wondering, do these people realize that most people are never, or most of the audience that they could reach for, they're not even capable of producing 8K or like having something that plays 8K. A lot of this stuff is very expensive, and there's very few of it out there. It's just not very practical, basically, to have 8K right now, especially if you want to make a market out of it. Like we're still reaching what 4K can do. So yeah, just thinking about how the Switch is catching up, and Nintendo in general is catching up in this sense. That has me really excited. Just thinking that a Nintendo console is running at 4K, it doesn't seem real to me.
Yeah, and art direction has always been king for Nintendo, and there are games like Metroid Prime 4, which are going to run at 4K 60 HDR, which is incredible. But, you look at the level of fidelity in the game's environments and its characters, and it's not going to be on the level of something like, um, like a first party like Naughty Dog kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
It's it's leans more into the art, but because the resolution gets to stay high and the frame rate gets to stay high, I feel like you get to appreciate that art more than you would otherwise. And I think that is going to carry Nintendo a lot further than, you know, something that is really on the cutting edge. They've proved this since the Wii.
Yeah, their art form, their art styles are always something that they, especially first party titles, they really understand how their consoles work. Those always look the most fantastic out of anything I've ever seen released on any console, third party or otherwise. And you've already seen this in 4K, and I'm jealous. I want to know what this actually looks like in motion without having to see the compression through a YouTube video or something.
Yeah, we got to play Metroid Prime in 1080p, but at 120 FPS, which was nuts. And most of the games there, I think, were 1440p, 2K. Um, but even 2K just is really crispy looking.
It's a lot of pixels.
um, so yeah, I'm really excited for Nintendo to kind of jump to the future here. I was commenting before the show started that I was doing some capture tests with Smash Brothers, and Ultimate, it's a good looking game, but when you really look at like, pixel density and that stuff, there's no anti-aliasing, so the characters look really jaggy. And I'm like, just an upgrade in resolution without anti-aliasing would make that look better. And while we don't have like an upgrade for Smash announced yet, like chances are it'll probably happen at some point. And that means I'll get to play that already existing game in a much nicer looking fashion.
Yeah, I would love that. I look back at games like Smash for Wii U, and I feel like some people will still say that that game looked a little bit better as far as like color direction, saturation. Some bits and pieces here seem to look better than Smash Ultimates. But yeah, looking at Smash Ultimate, that's a game that I look at every now and then. I still play it every now and then just because I love Smash so much. But seeing it now and comparing it to what we had beforehand, yeah, there's definitely room for improvement for all of these games. It's just a matter of when and I guess if and when Nintendo wants to announce these, because if they do, they don't have to do it all at once. They're gonna just kind of sparingly divide them up, give that, hopefully not through the entire course of the Switch 2 life cycle. I can't imagine being drip fed. It's like Switch 2 editions or other versions, like upgraded, upscaled versions for long, especially when Smash has a lot of life in it. If people want to, buy their time for whenever the next Smash does come.
Yeah, and we have Sakurai working on Kirby Air Riders, which we haven't gotten to see gameplay for yet. But I'm also not convinced that that would be the only game he has the capacity to work on. Or perhaps Smash finally is in the hands of somebody else. But given what I know of Sakurai, just from watching his YouTube videos, I don't think he'd be willing to let go. Which is fine. Man's got a fine touch. I get it. But Smash is something that I could see them saving for year 2. That's what they did with Smash Ultimate. I think getting Smash on your platform quick is important. Same like with Mario Kart. So Mario Kart being there day 1 is phenomenal. Having those tentpole like Nintendo multiplayer experiences available right away, so you don't have to go back to your old platform to experience them, even though we have backwards compatibility, I think is important. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring that up is because there have been a lot of rumors about a Nintendo Direct for June. And Nintendo typically has a June Direct for that E3 season. Daniel, what do you think about that?
Yeah, for those who say it's going to be happening, I feel like I've heard rumors saying it's going to be happening the same week as the Switch 2 launch. That doesn't seem practical at all.
Please don't do that.
Don't do that to us. The week after or after that, I mean, it's what we've come to expect. This is like the season of announcements. I think Sony's already announced that they're going to have something. They didn't say, or they speculate there's going to be something. They don't know exactly what. Probably State of Play. But yeah, we're going to be seeing more announcements of presentations coming up soon. I mean, we've already got a Pokemon Presents announcement like over a month in advance.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think people are just trying to make sure like, oh, by the way, we're still here. We're relevant. Please tune into the news we have coming for the future games and titles, because yeah, a lot of the talk is Switch 2 at the moment. So I can see it happening. I can see another Direct happening to see, because we don't really know what's beyond like Bonanza, other than like the Kirby Air Riders doesn't have any, as you mentioned, there's no footage of it. We don't know what it is yet, other than what's to base it on from the original title. So there is a lot we can stand to learn for the Switch 2 post-launch window.
Yeah, I think it's smart for Nintendo to just keep the conversation on Mario Kart for now, and Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong's been showing up pretty frequently in the Nintendo Today app, but we need to get through launch. There's a lot of games coming out. We did that video, discussing the launch games and ranking them. There's a lot to play on day 1. So, like, I don't mind waiting a little bit before we see what's next, even if it's only like a week or so. And if I'm not mistaken, Nintendo waited until all of the Summer Games Fest stuff was done before they even announced their Direct last year.
That's true. Yeah, it came out a little bit later in the month than usual. Than what we usually expect. So if they wait for that as well, I mean, that's the same weekend essentially. So post that, I would definitely be expecting at least some kind of announcement around that time.
Yeah, so would I. It's been a long road, Nintendo Switch, but I have to say, I think I don't know. I don't know if this is a controversial take. I think this might be Nintendo's best generation ever, and I'm not talking about sales number. I just mean as a fan. Like the amount of games that came out, um some for series that don't get a lot of love, like Pikmin got what I consider to be its best entry ever as a Switch One game. Legend of Zelda got reinvented. Mario did something brand new with Odyssey. We got the return of proper Mario Party, three times actually. um, it's I don't know. It's been lovely. Like Famicom Detective Club came back. Just Nintendo. Nintendo is in a place that reminds me a lot of like the GameCube era, where just like weird stuff would come out, because I think they've finally got a handle on their production pipeline, so that now there's room for all that stuff to happen. Um, or maybe this is just trauma from the Wii U era.
We're still cleansing ourselves of what we experienced during the Wii U era. But yeah, it's like combining the fact that, you know, handheld departments, console department, like those, they didn't have to worry about a handheld or a console at the same time. We had just fused all those together. So they had a really healthy pipeline of games coming out throughout the entire lifespan of the Switch One. And yeah, you already mentioned a whole bunch of notable ones. Fire Emblem got a real boost in the fan base with Three Houses, and just many. There were two Warriors games. One was on 3DS, but there was two Warriors games. Engage came out, and just a lot of revitalization of
A localized port of Famicom Fire Emblem One.
Oh right, funny how quickly we forget about that, because that also died with Mario on Mario Doomsday with the other titles that happened. Yeah, this was like, there were a lot of, you mentioned GameCube too. A lot of GameCube games were released during this time as well. A lot of the most notable ones like Metroid Prime and Paper Mario. And NSO, of course, that's still bringing back a lot of classics. Ones that I haven't played before, ones that we can experience in a whole new way, multiplayer, like playing N64 games online. It still blows my mind that I can still play games like Mario Party 2 or 3 with you guys just online.
I think people really undersell that part of Nintendo Switch Online. Um, I understand like not wanting to have to pay for online, or not wanting to have to pay for cloud saves, especially, but being able to play retro Nintendo games online with other people is still far and away like one of the best things about the platform. Even if it doesn't always work super well, and hopefully that changes on Switch 2. This is like, I remember thinking like, this is not a Nintendo thing to do, to have this as a feature. That is so like not the Nintendo I know. And I felt that in a lot of ways when it came to Switch 1. And I'm feeling it now with Switch 2, especially with stuff like Game Chat, how much emphasis they've put on performance in the platform. I think Nintendo is starting to strike a middle ground between like focusing so much on being like a blue ocean and doing things other people aren't doing, being innovative, and also just making a console that works.
Yeah, we're really starting to see that with certain aspects of the Switch too. Just trying to be compatible, just trying to help people to connect in certain ways. That's the whole purpose of what Game Chat is, essentially. And yeah, being it's just and they do it in such a funny Nintendo way. Like I remember I saw a screenshot not too long ago with like Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S, and it has like your portrait is in the frame behind all the Puyos dropping, and just like that's such a silly thing, but it's very Nintendo like to incorporate that sort of thing. Obviously not, it's not like everybody's going to use it. Most of us are just going to like try it in certain cases, but for those that stick with it, I mean, that's going to be really fun with like families, with other people, friends that you're close to that play those kind of games together. Mario Party, especially for us, I imagine. Yeah, they've really just kind of reached kind of a blend between the eras of like the Wii and Wii U and something new and fresh that's in the modern era as well. And it's nice to see.
I look forward to, games like Mario Party and Mario Kart where we'll be able to like, stream that game, perhaps with the gameplay full screened, just because our faces will show up contextually. I think that's so fun. And it does connect people in a way that I think a lot of folks are going to be surprised by. Because it's, especially for me, a lot of my friends and I, we have busy schedules. Some of them don't even live near here. So if we happen to go online and play Mario Party and we can see each other's faces and like, I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of value in that.
We really are connected by seeing a person's face, more so than just hearing their voice over a Discord call, which still helps with the connection. But when you can see them and then in context, contextually with the world itself, like I guess that's gonna hit different. I guess I won't know till I play it myself, but I don't know, like just seeing your face hover around a cart while we're dashing around in Mario Kart World, it just sounds fun and perhaps a bit gimmicky to some, but there are those that are going to have a blast with this, I imagine.
I might not ever play Mario Party without a camera again. We'll find out.
The whole thing you're mentioning is like, man, do I got to rethink our stream overlay with a full screen mode with the chat somewhere else? Oh God, this is too much right now. I'm already doing so much.
This is Mario Party game chat mode.
Oh my God.
But looking back on the Switch One again, I really do think Nintendo has landed somewhere that is going to sustain them for a really long time. Who knows if after Switch 2 we'll just get like Switch 3 or if Nintendo will do something new. I don't know how I'll feel one way or the other until this generation is nearing its end. By the time the next platform is even under consideration, I might be like 38 and have been playing a Switch for like, let's see, like 15 years? That's a long time.
That's scary to think about.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Going into Switch 1, like playing it for maybe a year into it, we're like, yeah, I can see Nintendo doing the same thing, but just more powerful with a Switch 2 with with pretty much, yeah, same hardware, just more powerful. But now, yeah, we're going to Switch 2 and the Switch, whatever a Switch 3 would look like, or if it's going to be something entirely different, like, I don't know. Nintendo, they have a lot of ideas, and they had some ideas all the way up leading until the Switch 1 was made, until some of those ideas are now in the Switch 2. So, I mean, who knows where we're going to go from here after the fact. It's too early to think about that. It hurts my brain to think about it. So I'm just going to enjoy the Switch 2 era while we're in it.
But Daniel, the rumors of Switch 2 Pro have already started.
Oh my God, the Switch 2 Pro Max after that.
Oh man, people never cease to amaze me. They're already talking about a Switch 2 OLED model. Oh my God. A Switch 2 doesn't have an OLED screen because that technology doesn't exist yet for variable refresh rate, 120 FPS HDR. They prioritized the technologies they wanted available in the screen over an OLED, and I agree with the choices personally.
People are going to say, but Brandon, it's just a screen. Why would it not be able to play with all the nice shiny stuff?
Because technology hasn't caught up yet, man. But that'll probably change at some point. But yeah. We missed the last couple of weeks. We've been busy getting ready for obviously the Nintendo Switch 2 launch. So I thought maybe we'd spend a little bit more time talking to our winner's circle. If you want to be part of our winner's circle and join in on episodes like this, you can join our Patreon at the silver tier. You get these episodes early. You can contribute questions to the show that we will answer, like right now. Just starting really quick, we've got one from Vedron, Most Wanted Retro Comeback. So some Nintendo property that hasn't been around in a long time. I mean, one that came to mind to me immediately was Kid Icarus.
Oh man, I always bring this up. I think I brought this up. It's been a while. If we're talking about a retro game to come back again and just to refresh it in some way, kind of like how Kid Icarus did it, I still want to see a reimagining of the mysterious Murasame Castle. That's already a game that's been it was partially inspired by the Zelda franchise, and that there's just so much I think you can do with that. I think of the way Sakurai handled a Kid Icarus Uprising, and that really opened my mind as to like, oh, this doesn't have to be exactly the same thing, but it can borrow a lot from its world, from its lore, expand upon that, and kind of keep some bits of the gameplay similar to the original, but also just take it in a new direction if they wanted to. Have a full story, voice acting. That entire game changed the way I imagine how any kind of reimagining or revamping of a franchise can become. And yeah, I've always been a fan of the mysterious Murasame Castle. Takamaru has made his little appearances here and there throughout Nintendo's history. I think he deserves something of his own. If there was a franchise to bring back from the dead, that would be I would just think that would be an ideal one for sure.
I think Ice Climber would be an interesting one too. We've seen like I think several like indie games where where you're mountain climbing, I guess. But like with another person. They're usually like janky kind of rage-inducing type games. I can think of like, you have Popo and Nana like roped together using, the rope that they have with their up special in Smash Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And then like having to work together to essentially climb mountains. Could be level by level, could be something more extreme like only up, where if you fall all the way down. I don't know. I think it could be a budget title. It's something you could hand to like an indie studio. Excuse me. But it would just give us an opportunity to have those characters in a game that isn't bad.
Can you imagine a game that's like rage game for Ice Climber? It's like Jump King, but it's called Ice Climb instead. But it's 2-player. Yeah, I've always thought I don't want to always default to like the 99 formula, but it'd be really funny if there was like just a bunch of characters trying to climb while the mountain is auto scrolling and you're trying to climb higher and higher, and there's like obstacles that come in the way, trying to reach the very top to where the condor is. That'd be really funny as well. But yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways we can handle this. I was jokingly, I was waiting for the Ice Climber Celeste crossover. That would have been funny.
I mean, it would be appropriate.
Can you make it like can you imagine Ice Climber is just, instead of being like the slow paced platforming, they just become like a lot more high pace reaction platforming like Celeste is? That'd be really funny.
Nintendo doesn't really have a property that does that I can think of off the top of my head. So
yeah, I guess
there's a hole that really they can fill.
I guess the closest thing would be like Donkey Kong Country. If you get really the skill ceiling can get really high if you know what to do and just how every stage flows together. But yeah, nothing like Celeste. So Nintendo, you got some ideas here to work with.
They're free. Natalie asks, with the Switch 2 just around the corner, what's a Nintendo published game for the Switch you keep forgetting exists? 1-2 Switch. I never bought it, and every couple of months I'm reminded that that's a video game that came out.
Yeah, I was gonna say everybody wants to Switch.
Well, there you go.
It's just that series in general. It was like, well, that one in particular, that was like their take on like a Jackbox kind of style of game that didn't really take off. We played it maybe a couple of times with patrons, and that was pretty much my extent and knowledge of that series from that point forward. It's a shame because like 1-2 Switch, it could have been a pack-in title and people would have been a lot more responsive to it probably. It's just some silly fun thing to play that demonstrates what the Joy-Con is capable of, what it can do, and we didn't get that because Nintendo doesn't like pack-in games anymore.
They sure like charging you $10 for a piece of software that tells you what your console does. Nintendo.
Is that going to be our answer? Like 6-7 years from now, what's a title you forget exists? Like, what was that
I
one that
think it
came
might
out?
be.
Was that one that came out of launch without a game?
I think Welcome Tour is going to disappear into the ether in like 4 years. Yeah, I mean, those are the obvious answers, but it's because those games aren't very good. So they're, I don't want to say they're not worth remembering, but, you know, maybe not worth playing so much.
And there's probably a couple I can think of if I had enough time, but as your question suggests, we just forgot about them.
There you go. That's the science has been explained. Moving on, we've got Young Ben Kenobi. Switch 2 is next week. We know the launch window lineup, but what do you think we might be getting for the holiday season, other than Pokemon Legends ZA? I think Nintendo may still have a game or two that haven't been announced yet for this year. Switch 1 or Switch 2, but I think they're holding on to some stuff. And one of them could be a holiday title. Pokemon Legends is coming out in October, which is really weird because Pokemon games almost always come out in November. So something else must be coming out in that time period.
Yeah, I was waiting to see the whole like third week of November releases we usually see with titles like these, but no, it's going to be a month earlier. So what are they planning for the holiday season? I don't know. Maybe that's when they're finally going to announce the Fire Emblem remake. If there's room for it, they call me crazy, but that I don't know. I guess not for like a big holiday blowout title. That's probably sort of something in the middle of the year or early year, like how Engage was in January. But as far as a holiday title, yeah, I'm trying to think what would fit that space at this point, because we already have your 3D platformer in Donkey Kong Bonanza. We got Pokemon coming out a month earlier.
It is worth noting that, come September, it'll be the 40th anniversary of Super Mario. They could just release something in September. Mario Wonder didn't get an update or a Switch 2 edition announced, so that makes me think that there probably is a Switch 2 edition coming, maybe with some new levels. But as much as I want a 3D Mario, I couldn't see it happening in the same year as the same team working on a different 3D platformer. But it's been so long since Odyssey. I don't know. They've done weirder things before.
Weirdest thing they could do. Super Mario Galaxy 2 Nintendo Switch 2 edition. The pointer with the mouse. It works very well to collect all the star bits. That would work.
Honestly, I would take that. If that's all they did for Mario's 40th anniversary, I would be fine with that, because I'm still mad that Galaxy 2 didn't come to Switch 1. I love that game.
Why did it not get bundled in? They like re-released the 3D All-Stars 3D and just add Galaxy 2 with it, and they get that in Galaxy 1 have mouse control. That'd be hilarious.
They're going to do it like the old All-Stars game where they added Mario World. It says Super Mario All-Stars plus Super Mario World. So this one would be Super Mario 3D All-Stars plus Mario Galaxy 2.
Oh, that's perfect. It just writes itself, Brandon. We're already writing the holiday release here.
It'll be a Switch 2 edition, and they will charge us an upgrade fee, and the only upgrade we'll get is Galaxy 2. No performance changes. Though I could see them backporting mouse controls to Galaxy 1. I think I would enjoy playing that game much more with mouse controls than with the gyro.
Yeah, that in particular, I went back to get some footage for Mario Galaxy 1 a while back, and I realized it's just kind of hard to control. Like, I appreciate pressing a button to do the spin, but the actual pointer stuff was kind of not very comfortable in the long run.
Yeah, I still haven't done like my 100% Luigi playthrough, and I go back to it every few months to play more. And I play like a couple levels, and I just get tired of dealing with the gyro controls. And that's a shame. So yeah, I think mouse controls, other than just getting a Wii Remote accessory or something, is the best option.
Yeah, all down for it.
Other possibilities for holiday release. Next year is Zelda's 40th anniversary, and there have been rumors of a remake of Ocarina of Time. I still don't know where those came from, but I would peg that for next year rather than this year.
Yeah. Like if we're doing a proper like from the ground up remake this time, yeah, that seems like something we would do, and also might line up a bit with an upcoming movie for Zelda. Kind of makes
That's
sense.
true. That movie is scheduled for 2027, right?
Yeah.
And then Mario 2 is next year. Yeah, you make a good point. I think that potential Ocarina remake could be next year. Whether it is a completely from the ground up remake or just like a 4K port of the 3DS game remains to be seen. Personally, actually, I'd like both. I still, depending on the direction they take it, like if it's a reimagining more so than a remake, I would still like the ability to play the nicer version of the original game on a modern platform.
Yeah.
Because it kind of sucks that that and Majora's Mask 3D, regardless of what you think of that game in particular, it sucks that they're stuck on 3DS.
Yeah. There's that's a whole other conversation, but yeah, that's something that I wish would happen on Switch to any Switch, honestly, on a console, having that control scheme, more quality of life changes on a console would be fantastic. Because all we have right now are the NSO versions, which isn't bad either. I still kind of prefer original Majora's Mask because everyone has different reasons for which one they prefer. But yeah,
For Ocarina, though, I don't really see a contest. I think the 3D version is just better.
oh yeah,
Having motion controls, especially, is chef's kiss for me.
motion controls, more item slots to just tap and have instead of opening the menu so many times. Just a lot of nice things they added with that one.
A quick one for Mazaran127. Do you think the Switch 2 could rock a mullet?
You know, it has the two tones going on for it. I think it's trying to be a little bit more stylish. I think it could do. I think it could pull it off.
We just need to we need a mullet, a couple tattoos, and a nose ring, and it'll be perfect. Kirito asks, any particular remixes from across Mario's history you want to see included in Mario Kart World's jukebox and music style? I've been trying not to listen to all the versions of the songs that have been coming out, just because I want to hear them in the game, and the game's coming out so soon. The first one that came to mind was the final battle theme from Yoshi's Island.
Oh man,
I love that song. It rips on Super Nintendo, but I don't think they've ever officially made a new version of it.
I don't think so. Yeah, that's like just something that's just to the original title. That's surprising.
And it's not like they haven't done, like rock music again since then. We have that super sick, Fury Bowser theme.
We have a rock theme with vocals at the end of Odyssey. Yeah, they definitely messed with that before. There's a lot of rock introduced with the Thousand Year Door on Switch as well. Like a lot more instrumentation that adds rock themes into it, more so than the ones you normally would see, which was surprising to me. Yeah, Paper Mario is a title where I would love to see more music in that as well, if they're leaning towards different Mario games, because like they're leaning towards spin-offs. Like Captain Toad the other day I saw got a theme that's being remixed in there. So I don't think any of these are off the table as far as like how far we can reach, especially if you're getting 200 plus songs. There's a lot of room for these.
If there's like an amusement parky type area somewhere on the world map, I could see like the Glitz Pit theme being really good for that.
That's true, yeah. The one where you're just outside and it sounds very like carnival-y. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is like a really I'm a sucker for the music of the old games. Even something as simple as like listening to Toad Town while you're just driving around the place.
I love Toad Town.
That's one of my favorite like just Mario locations to just hang around, and that theme is just so memorable to me. I would love to hear that remix. I don't think that's one I don't think has ever been remixed as well.
Toad Town, funnily enough, is one of my go-to tracks for background music in my videos.
I heard.
It's a top 10 theme for me, just because those vibes are so cozy. And it's like the most grounded Mario location ever. Like
Hmm.
it made the Mushroom Kingdom feel like a place for the first time. And I don't think they've ever recaptured that. Ever.
Yeah, it was like the hub at the center of that world where everything connected, and it just felt so cool. Yeah, well, it wasn't there, but you could see where Princess Peach's castle would be. Seeing it at the beginning and the end, where it's like just a full thriving town where nothing can go wrong. That's super cozy. I would love that.
Bring it back, Nintendo. You remade Thousand Year Door. So
And you know what's
if
next?
so remake the first one if you're not making a new one. Um but yeah, I'm really looking forward to the Mario Kart soundtrack. What I've heard so far has been excellent. I love the new theme song. I'm a sucker for like folky kind of like country-ish type music. This is just how I was raised. So hearing that harmonica at the beginning of the song is just so good.
Yeah. Oh, I just thought of another one real quick. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga also has some really great ones. I love the first field theme when you're in the bean fields. I forget what it's called specifically. I use that in some of my videos too. It's just like there's some acoustics, there's a flute playing, woodwind playing in the background. I think that would fit the aesthetic really nicely as well.
Okay, it took me a while to like remember the song.
Do do
I would,
do 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 do. So, that's not very good,
yeah,
but
yeah, because don't they use that song in the Castle Town too?
the castle's like the do 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 do.
Okay, yeah,
That's a
you're
different
right.
one, but yeah, that one can go into. There's a lot of great songs. I mean, that's a Yoko Shimomura soundtrack, so there's a lot of music that we can just say, put it in, boss.
I loved that song so much as a kid. Like whenever I was walking around the Bean Town, um, after the main melody, I would have Mario and Luigi jump like doing in time to the beat because I felt like it needed it. I was like, this is perfect. They're telling me to jump on beat, like subliminally.
Oh man, that would. Oh, this is so. We're so much alike. This is me for the Chuckle Huck Woods theme. That one's
Mhm.
like bump 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 bump, and just having Mario and Luigi jump to that song as well. That song gets stuck in my head often, more than it should.
Ba-ba, 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 ba-ba.
Yeah. This is thank you for joining the GUG radio today, everybody.
This is just Brandon and Daniel like bonding over Mario music now. Um, I don't know if we've heard one yet, but I love the Super Mario Brothers Wonder main overworld theme. With like the vocal do 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 ba, it's so
Yeah.
jolly. I'd love to have a version of that in the game somewhere.
Yeah, is that flower going to be in that game, you think?
I'm surprised he's not playable.
Someday. I feel like we're just getting the main cast and the main like, oh, these characters are obstacles kind of characters out of the way. It's just
Yeah.
racers. There'll definitely be more to come for sure. When that'll be announced, I don't know, but I'm too busy worried about. We're excited for the release to think about future content. But yeah, I bet that flower will be in there with Cappy. They'll have a conversation and they'll be best friends.
I'm gonna send you an image because it's related to the next question from Amagus, who asked previously who we think the redhead in this Mario Kart concept art is. I look at her and I immediately see Inkling Girl, but
Yeah,
clearly that's not who that is.
yeah, you know what? Looking at it now, because yeah, that's Luigi. So I would immediately assume that's Daisy. But the hair is not usually that color.
Yeah, it's not quite right because her hair is more brown.
But it is very stylized because that's Peach in the runway poster, right? Because that's her blue earring.
Yeah,
So that doesn't exactly look like Peach either. But maybe, I mean, this looks like something Daisy would wear and go out on a drive with Luigi.
unless they were like considering changing her hair color at some point.
That's true.
because she's not a redhead, not completely. Um, not like auburn orange.
You got
So,
like with the jacket, it's also like Futaba from Persona 5 vibes as well, which is really
mhm.
funny because it's like a combination of her Phantom Thief outfit and regular outfit. Yeah, that's who do you think this is, Brand? Do you have any theories?
Like I said, my first thought when I saw her, I was like, "Oh, that's Inkling Girl." But then you look closer, and her hair is not, made of tentacles.
That is human hair.
Um, Perhaps there is a new Mushroom Kingdom leading lady that we've yet to be introduced to,
Is this
because
yeah.
like every console generation for a while now has introduced. I guess not everyone, but like every major Mario game these days seems to introduce a new leading lady. Because like with Galaxy, we got Rosalina. Super Mario Land, we got Daisy. Um, and then Odyssey brought back Pauline, and now she's a main member of the cast.
It's true. Yeah, we haven't had a new, like a brand new, um, like quote unquote princess or leading lady for quite a while now because they brought back Pauline. Daisy also was kind of like just brought back because, well,
Mm-hmm.
in that sense, because she was in one game, but then they needed her for like Peach needed a doubles partner for Mario Tennis. So they're like, oh, wait, we have Daisy. We have another princess. Let's use her. And then she and Waluigi just started to become mainstays after they made Waluigi from the ether just for that game.
They spawned him.
Basically. So yeah, if this is like a little tease of a future character, that'd be really fun because it's not really characteristic of the Mario franchise to just put characters that aren't already in their universe in like posters and stuff, right? It's
Not that
usually
I can
just
think
those
of.
characters or items or baddies or things like that. Like I can see there was like a Bob-omb and the Yoshi in the background behind Luigi too. But yeah, it's very uncharacteristic for them to introduce just a new design without any context to them.
Yeah, I'm super curious if this is going to become anything. Um, I feel like this isn't something we would have seen pre-launch if there wasn't something to it, you know? Like this kind of concept art comes out in a book years afterwards, like rock and roll punk Rosalina.
Right. So yeah, that's super interesting. Um,
Oh, someone suggests Natalie replied to that saying Mona from WarioWare.
oh, she's like the only redhead I can think of in this universe, I think, that's naturally redheaded.
She's not delivering a pizza, but we haven't
She's
seen her outside of that WarioWare look before. So if they want to introduce her here and then just like change her design a little bit, that'd be kind of cool.
yeah, she's had a couple designs within WarioWare at this point, from like the original getup with the Mona pizza, the cheerleader outfits. Some of the more recent designs are more modernized too. But yeah,
Oh,
that's very
Penny's a
mysterious.
redhead too.
Oh yeah, how could I forget Penny with the best theme song WarioWare's ever had?
I like Penny more than Mona personally, so I'm changing my vote to Penny.
She let her hair down and got a ride. Now she's zooming around. Oh, well, what's the name of the like
Diamond
city?
City.
Diamond City. Can you imagine if Diamond City was a track in this game?
That would be really cool.
And they have like just a bunch of WarioWare influences.
Yeah, WarioWare hasn't like his universe hasn't like really spread outside of his own games other than like Smash Brothers.
Yeah, it's so bad that Waluigi has never been in a WarioWare game. Just
He
like
doesn't he's not canon to that
he
world.
doesn't exist there.
He doesn't exist.
He feels like such an obvious character to have along the crew, but he's just never in a WarioWare game. What the heck?
Looking down the questions, do you think we'll see a ton of Switch 2 games announced at SGF? This comes from Shellshock Prime. Well, we know Switch 2 is a partner, so I would imagine a lot of games that get announced next week will also be coming to Switch 2.
Yeah, because like the actual Nintendo themselves, they still haven't made their presence really well known at all at SGF. I think Jeff himself has said like it just hasn't lined up yet for us. Maybe one day Nintendo will be there with a bigger presence, but as of now, they haven't been there like ever. If they were going to have any presence, it's like, oh, these games are also coming, as you said, to Switch 2, post
They
that same day or something.
they've never gone to SGF. They've never been to opening night live, as far as I can remember. And they've had games at a handful of Game Awards, but more often than not, they're not there.
Mm-hmm.
So I also don't think Nintendo unveiling like a big game at SGF makes much sense. Not at the height of the console launch, not the day after it comes out, at least.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense, especially when they have so much capability to just get this news out on their own terms. Yeah, Game Awards is a different story because it's like the end of the year. There's a lot of eyes on the Game Awards at this point now.
The
We've seen
viewership numbers don't lie.
yeah. And we've seen some pretty major announcements at the Game Awards in the past. So it's a different story. And yeah, the fact that it is lining up so closely to the actual launch, I don't think they're gonna bother.
Even Jeff Keighley wishes he could stay home and just play Mario Kart.
Just kick up those fancy shoes and play Mario Kart for a whole afternoon. I feel you, Jeff.
During the show, just play Mario Kart with the audience. Don't even reveal games. Just play Mario Kart.
Welcome to my live stream, Summer Games Fest. We're going to play Mario Kart.
Moving down the line, Dead Alpha Lion asks, do you think we'll get Switch 2 ports of more legacy PC franchises in the future, like Baldur's Gate or classic Fallout? And do you see yourself getting into them? Daniel and I talked a little bit about this, like with some of the RTS style games in the launch lineup, like Civ and Nobunaga's Ambition. I think if something like Age of Empires came to Switch 2, I'd probably buy it and try it.
Yeah, there's a lot with the PC. I'm not much of a PC gamer, honestly. I've mostly been console, but seeing how you can just now use these functionalities as if you're on a PC with the Switch 2 has me more interested in some of these for sure. Like I want to be able to play games with this new functionality. And yeah, there's definitely some here that I hope I can find the time to get into them, because I know some of these are a major time sink. So that's another thing that's got me a little bit wary for some of them.
Yeah, I think we'll see some of them come to the platform. I don't think it's going to be a priority like right away, but you know, if something like Roller Coaster Tycoon got mouse controls at some point, I'd probably buy it.
Oh yeah.
But moving on, Eggroll asks, do you think the success of the Switch has marked the end of the traditional console in favor of hybrids? This is an interesting question because, you know, we have Xbox kind of starting to fade away in a lot of respects. There's rumors now that they're coming out with a hybrid. There's rumors that PlayStation's coming out with a hybrid. One of those might even be officially announced. I can't recall off the top of my head. But you know, they've historically chased Nintendo when they land on something that works, right? So this isn't a new thing necessarily. But I do think there could be a point made that like the traditional concept of a home console might someday go away.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to eventually become a case in which the hybrid is just the standard at this point, especially when we have things that are continuously coming out. That you can use the Steam Deck as a dock. You could dock that and pretty much treat it as you would with a Switch in the same sense. We have stuff like the PlayStation Portal to make your essentially just do it yourself, make it a handheld. And now they're coming up with ideas, with rumors that if they're going to do a hybrid, like now's the time. And with Xbox kind of just disappearing slowly but surely, that seems like the best move that they can make right now, as long as they don't stop calling everything an Xbox, please.
But at the same time, like I feel like we're entering an age of oversaturation, because when you think of game consoles, most of the time there's only 3 to choose from. But when it comes to handhelds today, there are a lot to choose from, and they come out a lot more frequently. You have Nintendo, you have A&Neo, you have Lenovo, you have Steam, and eventually we'll have PlayStation and Xbox, and perhaps even more competitors. You know, Steam is allowing you to download the OS and install it on other hardware. So, like, any machine could essentially become a Steam Deck at that point. And I'm curious if that oversaturation is going to have a negative impact. I don't think Nintendo, at least anytime soon, will ever like fall into obscurity. So I think they're going to be around for quite some time. But I do wonder about, like, you know, Xbox and PlayStation. How are they going to stand up in this world of PC handhelds? They can do more. Those platforms tend to like want to be on the cutting edge, and you can't be more cutting edge than a PC usually.
Yeah, these are going to especially rely on their exclusives going into this generation. And as we've seen, some of them don't really have as many to speak of as others, unfortunately. So,
and that even applies to PlayStation. Sadly, like the PS5 has been a very weird generation for them in terms of their first party content. I think I've spent most of my time on my PlayStation 5 playing third party games.
Yeah. Same here. Most of the things I played, I could play on a different console, but I play it on the PS5 because it just looks or runs nicer.
But, you know, we both have PCs that are more powerful than our PlayStations. Who's to say what that might do to the console situation in the future? Obviously, there's still quite a big price differential, but as we've seen in the last like year, 2 years, console prices are actually going up and not down.
Yeah.
So consoles used to be like the easier way to get into the hobby than something like a PC. But the playing field might be leveling out. Obviously, PC tech's also going to get more expensive. But when you look at like the value proposition of something like Steam and how cheap those games are most of the time, it's kind of hard to make the argument.
Yeah, I've never really invested so much into like my build, like my PC here, for example, and to see the kind of things I can play on it. It's just like, wow, I definitely see where the where the PC master race, quote unquote, comes from. But I've always been more of a console person because that was just more accessible to me.
Right.
But yeah, now we're seeing these prices just inflate, go higher. People were still shocked at the amount of the price point for the Switch 2. Don't even get me started with the PS5 Pro. that was another thing that kind of shook people into thinking like, wow, okay, well, it's kind of a luxury now in this case, not so much a hobby.
Yeah, it's things are changing, times are changing, and I do worry about that for a lot of reasons. But hopefully gaming eventually turns back the other way and becomes more accessible again. Because right now it's pretty rough.
Yeah.
So to definitively answer your question, Egg Roll, I don't think it'll mark the end of traditional consoles. I think it'll mark the end of video games.
Well, on that note, on that bright and happy note, thank you for your questions.
We got one question left. We'll go ahead and answer it so everyone gets a turn here. Wataniac asks, are Switch 2 editions going to be the next Virtual Console NSO style drip feed? Which is funny because you literally said that earlier.
Yeah. I hope it's not the case. But at the same time, it's like, well, how do you evenly distribute games like these without just shoving them out there all at once? Because then people get a little bit overwhelmed. Like, what do they play first? There's definitely more that are already done that they're waiting to announce, but the lineup they have right now is like a nice even spread of games that came out recently, games that could use updates, use DLC, more or less, the same concept of that. But yeah, I think we'll probably be in for, I don't even know how to quantify it. Like, how many do you think will be announced at a time at at a direct, for example?
I'm not sure, because I don't know, like, realistically how many Switch 2 editions you actually need, because there's what, 6 announced right now, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have 12 games that are getting free updates on launch day, and that covers a lot of, like, a lot of the heavy hitters as far as like first party content goes. Mario Wonder, Pikmin 4, Animal Crossing, Smash Brothers. Those are the big ones that come to mind that could stand, I guess, to get an upgrade. But then I look at games like Luigi's Mansion 3, and despite how well that game sold, I don't really see any reason to upgrade it. Upgrade, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So if they are to do drops, I could see them maybe doing 2 at a time. It depends on like how they want to fill out their calendar. Like maybe 2026 is a lot of Switch 2 editions. Maybe they need to catch up on game development, but the console cycle for Switch 1 was so long, I still imagine there's plenty in their back pocket that can just come out whenever. I wouldn't be surprised if games like Rhythm Heaven and Tomodachi Life are done and they just don't have any reason to launch them.
Yeah, there's a lot of games here that just they don't need to be released right away. And yeah, but there's just perfect. It's a perfect thing to have to just fill out the calendar, as you already mentioned, and to just have them. If there's an empty month or something, here's a couple of Switch 2 editions or an upgraded portion that you can occupy yourself with as we continue making other things. But I think I want to say that they have a fairly detailed roadmap already planned out. We just haven't seen the whole thing yet. So
it's also worth noting that some Switch 2 editions are coming out in the same month as another first party game. Like, I think Donkey Kong Bonanza and Mario Party Jamboree are 2 weeks apart.
Yeah, I think so. They're very close to each other. So there's going to be a steady release feed of stuff for the foreseeable future. We're just not sure what comes beyond that, which is why, again, the direct will probably help to fill some of those gaps out.
And one question swept in while we were answering that one. It's a quick one, so we'll finish it off with one from Becca. What franchise do you think is a special edition first for the Switch 2? Pokemon.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
There is a Pokemon Presents in July.
It's coming very soon. You never know. It's funny. We only usually just get the one for a year, don't we? We're getting a second one this year. Yeah.
Did a special edition launch this year? Or are you talking about Pokemon?
Oh, I was talking about Pokemon. Never mind. I was talking about Pokemon in general. I think I was confused whether you meant as what kind of special edition you were talking about, as far as like Switch 2 or game.
Special edition console, I should clarify.
Oh, the console. Oh gosh, for console itself, what would be the first one we see for console? That isn't Pokemon. We'll see a Mario Kart special edition.
Oh, here's another 8 years of Mario Kart bundles.
Yeah, that'll be the bundle now. It'll just be that same special edition for the next 8 years or so.
Every Black Friday, they bring back the bundle that came out at launch. Well, we talked about Mario's 40th anniversary earlier. I could see them releasing a special edition just to coincide with that. Doesn't even necessarily have a pack-in game, but, something Mario themed.
It'll be that one, or by the same logic, it'll be Zelda as well when that 40th anniversary comes around, because I could easily see that working just as well.
I think you might be able to make the case for Metroid Prime 4, but I feel like that would probably be something that maybe only comes out in the West.
Mm-hmm.
And like Europe. Because unfortunately, Japan seems to still not care much about Samus Aran.
But it'd be like a nice purple pinkish Joy-Con combination, right? That'd be nice.
It would look good. But I don't know if
I gotta do some
Japan would buy it. All right, gang, that officially wraps up our big extended edition Winner Circle mailbag. So thank you for asking all your questions. We're in it. This is the last Week in Nintendo episode before Nintendo Switch 2 comes out.
Wow.
I can't guarantee there'll be an episode next week just because of how busy this whole thing's going to be. But if we can, we will.
We will make our best efforts because some of us are going to be in line until midnight for those midnight launches. I'll be at the Nintendo World Store in San Francisco. I got a pass to that. That'll be exciting.
I'll be at GameStop, and then after we all get home, we're gonna be in the content trenches.
Yeah, we will
for a little while. But thank you so much for listening to the Week in Nintendo. If you could please leave us a 5-star rating, we'd really appreciate that. It helps out the show a whole lot. And yeah, if you want to become a member of the Winner's Circle, you can join our Patreon at the silver tier. You can ask questions in our mailbag in our Discord server, and we'll answer them here on the show. But until next time, keep the games good and the vibes greater. And I hope you get your Switch 2 and you have a good time. Bye now.
Till we meet again.